Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
I hope you are aware of how long...
I know how long this will take.
And why should we entrust this to you?
I mean, if I'm not gonna do it, then who else is?
Then you have my blessing.
Thank you.
Wait. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Are you sure he's got what it takes?
I believe so, but I didn't tell him something.
What's so funny?
I gave him what he asked for, but he's gotta get all the way home and open up the game case, and it's just gonna be a slice of cheese. Can you believe the look on his face when he opens up the game case and it's just a slice of cheese?
Every main quest, every side quest, every Korok seed, shrine, lightroot, picture, every single thing you can think or do in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I have done it.
And I did everything without using a single glitch. So I guess I should go back to the beginning and tell you about where this all started. 6 long years ago.
I don't talk about it too often, but at one point in time, I thought I was the world's biggest Zelda fan. Ask anybody what they thought of me. I was either the rumor-filled kid who kind of made everybody nervous when they were reaching for a pencil in their backpack, or being the kid who lived and breathed Zelda. I can't really talk about how much of a major impact the Zelda series has had on my life. Twilight Princess was the first game that I'd played in the series. I ended up borrowing it from the always fantastic Jared and absolutely fell in love with everything. The music, the characters, the puzzle design, every single thing that made my small, idiotic ADHD brain tick. I wanted more of all of it. That's not what I meant. There was just something so charming about the gameplay that was so different than any of the puzzle or action games that I had played before. I compare it a lot to Mario, you know, this flagship mascot of Nintendo's built off of the concept of maneuverability. You know, if you could do something in the game with just the general idea of jumping and diving, you were equipped with the capabilities of traversing anywhere. Link is the perfect opposite, where Mario is based off of mechanical input to get you from one place to another. The Legend of Zelda is based off of creative input. If you have an idea on how to get from one area to another, it might not be the answer to the current puzzle you're working on, but at some point in time, that creative spark that you theorized earlier is eventually going to come around and benefit you in the long run. This set me off on my Zelda journey, but you don't want to hear me talk about that, so I'm just going to talk about the important details. I then played Ocarina, fell in love with the game design, jumped into Wind Waker, immediately fell in love with the cell shading while also learning about the harsh reality of what we in the real world call capitalism. I then moved on to the 2 original games, loved the first one and didn't honestly hate the second one as much as other people do, despite its obvious setbacks, before finally falling in love with one of my favorite video games of all time, despite all the criticism, and it's all thanks to one of my favorite pieces of dialogue in all of video game history.
But this time, when all of this is over, will you come to wake me up?
You need to talk or anything?
Why would Nintendo want to hurt me like that?
All the while, finally coming out of that depressed little kid's shell. Zelda was one of the first series I could finally bond over with new friends, something that I could easily enough associate with other people. And to say that Zelda didn't have a major impact on my life would truly be an understatement.
But why am I telling you this? Well, in 2017, I was in one of the worst states that I had ever been in my entire life. Not Florida. I just left my home, I left my friends, I left my job, everything behind so I can chase after one dream that amassed every single thing that I wanted to do, and I failed. But if there was one thing that I could look forward to, one thing that kept me going, it was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, slated to release March 3rd, 2017. This was a brand new start for the Zelda series. I saw it as a brand new start for me, because that's how metaphors work. So imagine my face when I woke up from the Shrine of Resurrection, walked out of that cave for the very first time, and heard that iconic opening that has to play out anytime somebody on the internet talks about this game.
I fell back in love with video games. I poured all of my hours into this game. I messaged my old friends, got back in contact with them, and we all played together, joking around and having a blast. But I didn't feel that sense of accomplishment. Not just yet. I was at the lowest place that I had ever been in my life since I was that depressed middle school student. So at that point in time, I sat out with one goal and one goal in mind.
I'm gonna 100% this game.
And so that's what I did. Every waking second, every spare moment I could find, I made it my mission to do every quest, every shrine, every Korok seed. I wanted to explore every single inch of this game. Because in my mind, I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything else to do, so I wanted to do something reputable, even if it was something as simple as 100%ing this game. And after 200 hours in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I wasn't even close.
And I forgot about it. I forgot about all of those memories I had playing Breath of the Wild, reliving those days of my childhood. This was a game that took everything that I knew about the Zelda series and cranked it up to 11. Sure, it wasn't the traditional Zelda formula of a normal game, but that creative insight of making you find the most ingenious ways to overcome the obstacle in front of you was still at the heart of this series. So with Tears of the Kingdom fresh on the horizon, I was really skeptical. This is where I go into the normal spiel of, oh, this is a follow-up to one of the greatest video games of all time. How are we ever gonna live up to this expectation? And that's completely true. While the Zelda series is known for some of the best polish you will ever see in a major release, they're not particularly known for reinventing the wheel. Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, popping out some of the greatest games for their original consoles, these are fantastic titles, but they weren't anything revolutionary like Breath of the Wild.
Nothing like Breath of the Wild.
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 I think you get the picture.
And so you're telling me that with a direct sequel of a game that revolutionary on that large of a scale, you want to reinvent the wheel again?
I mean, Miyamoto is known for saying that in 15 seconds this game is gonna make you come.
50 hours into this game, I knew I had to talk about it. How were you able to take everything that we loved about Breath of the Wild, crank it up to 11, and give us one of the most jaw-dropping experiences that I've ever had the pleasure of playing in my entire life? Which is why at 51 hours, I just knew
I'm gonna 100% this game. Wait for it. And that is where our story begins, pouring every single ounce of energy I have into this game at the busiest that I have ever been in my life, so I decided to do this the only way that I know how. Yeah, so if we're gonna proceed on that lone...
Alright, so here's the game plan. I've got to get all of the Korok seeds, all of the shrines, all the pictures, and complete all of the quests. Time consuming, but I'm sure that's all I have to do, right?
Hey, could you turn that off? I'm kind of busy here.
1,000 Korok seeds, 152 shrines, 120 light roots, 509 compendium picks, 228 recipes, 253 quests, 18 memories, 135 armor upgrades, 250 plus bosses defeated, 81 Hudson signs, 20 sage wills, every schema stone, every schematic, even maximizing your battery past the blue and fully through to the dark blue. Every single time I started researching what it would take to 100% this game, I started learning more and more. I mean, at the time of writing this, I haven't even beaten the game. I'm actually just walking around my neighborhood with a phone in my hands as I verbalize this script so I can talk to you about it. Except, like, this is how I actually do videos. I just walk around with my phone and just say it. And I don't walk around with a camera, though, because that'd be weird. Also, there's somebody looking at me right now. Part 1. Play it. When you first start off this game, just play it the way that it's meant to be played. This is a 60, 70, 80 hour game on its own, so if you want to explore every inch of Hyrule, please do it. If you want to completely bypass the game, head to the final boss, and knock this game out in under an hour, I mean, you'll be one of the few, but hey, play this game however your heart wants to. This is a game meant for you to just immerse yourself, so just jump into this game and play it however you'd like. I'm a big fan of playing through a game naturally. Look it up. I mean, you could look up a guide and know everything there is to happen before it happens, but where's the where's the wonder of that? Don't miss out on that fuzzy, heartwarming feeling like when you opened that case for the first time and found this fucking slice of cheese! Part 2. Cool as fuck abilities. Remember how fantastic and creative the abilities were in Breath of the Wild? Yeah, all of them are gone. Except for Amiibo support in the camera. They were just far too powerful to get rid of. Wait, if this just gives you meat, then... oh no. This is the Ultra Hand, named after the original Nintendo toy and the stands used in Mario Circuit in Mario Kart 8. Yeah, I was surprised too when I saw that. I thought this was just gonna be a simple pick it up and place it where it needs to be, but like, where do I even begin to talk about this? Most people started making the comparisons and jokes to Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, but I went straight to My Sims, where you can pick up everything and glue everything together on a grid to make houses and different contraptions. Little Big Planet, Minecraft, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. This isn't the newest concept by any means in video games, but using them as a means of traversal for problem solving, sneaking into Rome, recreating God, this game has an infinite means of execution. I love the way they introduced this. Use it as a form of movement. Great! Now use it as a form of merging two objects. Got the basics? Now just introduce simple physics, utilize it in the real world, fail and end up Tony Hawking your way down here like a normal person would. All the while, people are already out here making Gundams like... How do you even come up with that? This is the best I could do. While Magnesis in Breath of the Wild was primarily limited to simple metal objects, Ultra Hand has the capabilities of handling anything. Want to make a really big bridge to get across this shrine? Part 2.1, don't diss really long bridges, they're so incredibly helpful. Sometimes the simplest mechanics works. I could gather all of these materials to transfer this Korok seed to his best friend like the gameplay probably expects me to do, but why do that when I could just walk him there and save time? Okay, maybe that wasn't the best example. The Ultra Hand works best with however you want to personally tackle it. If you want to get to Eventide Island by building a boat or by building a motorcycle and just hovering over to it, there's no real tip that I can give you except go with whichever method works best for you. It's the air bike. Always make yourself an air bike. Grab one of these pedestals, smack it on top of two fans, fail once, fail some more, eventually it'll work out, and just create a flying bike that can take you anywhere you need to go in the air. Just make sure you don't misplace it. But the most prominent use that I find for the Ultra Hand is alongside the new recall ability. This is just an upgraded version of stasis. Unfortunately, we can't preserve the inertia, but shooting up into the sky, completely reversing the flow of time, when I first learned this was an ability in the game, this absolutely blew my mind. I mean, think about it. This is an ability that allows you to rewind 20 full seconds in the entire game. We can see this in the first official gameplay trailer where Link taxis himself into the air. This means that the game has to keep an active list of every single position and movement that an object goes through for the entirety of that time. I can understand a few objects. I remember playing a Crack in Time and thinking the time control puzzles and Clank sections were so sick back in 2009. But being in a forest with dozens of apples and potential logs, a firefight where an explosion can send hundreds of items flying whichever which way, it just boggles my single brain cell that all of this can be taken into control, all of this can be interwoven almost seamlessly into gameplay, and all of it is running on what is essentially 10-year-old hardware. Crazily enough, this is the ability that I ended up using the least in the game. I'll use it against likes to bounce their boulders back at them when need be, but primarily I did end up using this with the Ultra Hand because check this out. Why would I go through the trouble of completing a shrine the dev intended way when I could just cheese the entire thing and basically run straight to the finish line? This made hunting for Koroks so much easier than I originally anticipated, but we're gonna get to these little bastards later. Next up, we have the Ascend ability. Hey man, check out this cool thing I can do.
I mean, I don't know what you... Oh, you're in the ceiling now.
Look at hot Gerudo women.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm looking at hot Gerudo women. Ascend allows you to travel upwards through the floor and rise up through ceilings, hillsides, and just create these impossible shortcuts. Funnily enough, Ascend wasn't even originally intended to be in the final game. Producer Eiji Onuma and director Fuji Ibashi revealed it actually started off as a debug cheat and wasn't actually intended for the base game. Fujibayashi went on to explain that when he was exploring through Tears of the Kingdom caves, he would get to his destination and then use this early version of the Ascend debug to make his way back out again. And I thought, well, maybe this is something that can be useful in the game. And it was right around that time Mr. Onuma said, it's a pain to go back. I find that this is one of the biggest time savers in the entirety of Tears of the Kingdom. With how many shrines are hidden in caves and Zonai pillars are hanging off of cliff sides, I mean, this cutscene pretty much just speaks for itself. Relive the glory of by making a giant pillar of logs. Give up use in the depths to go in the floor and keep going. It's also just really cool how the ascend ability works. The game world completely deletes itself, so it can show you this visual of Link traveling through this square box while it hides the load times. This keeps you seamlessly tied within the gameplay without parts of the game world clipping out.
It's honestly so fascinating and a common camera trick in the world of video games. Link here will ascend if he's on a flat surface, and if there's enough room above or below them, the whole entire world around Link will disappear into oblivion. And instead of Link moving through the world, they just adjust the vertical aspect of the game and have Link appear up on top. How am I gonna get my amiibo back?
Really brilliant on the developers giving you the option to cancel after completion. You come up into a room, realize, nope, I'm out of there right now. I don't use this much, but honestly, the fact that it's there tells you how much they've play tested this game.
Whack.
And finally, we have the Fuse ability, which besides the Ultra Hand, is gonna be the ability you use most often throughout your journey. It's exactly what it sounds like. Fuse objects together and hope it does enough damage to your enemies.
Yeah, so my personal favorite is the Swiffer Swiper.
Any object in your inventory can be fused to anything you've got. Most things in the overworld can be attached to a weapon or a shield if it allows for it. Want to attach a long stick to another long stick? It's just called long stick. If you want to throw a rocket on a shield, you can reinvent Revali's Gale. Good, because this is one of the most useful things you'll end up doing in this game. I spent hours doing this, just throwing random junk together and seeing what kind of abomination of a weapon I could create out of this.
My favorite fusion is the Master Sword in my parents' divorce papers.
You can throw a honeycomb on the end of a weapon and smack an enemy around while bees come out to attack them after you're done. If you'd like to throw a hardy bass on your Master Sword. I don't know why you'd want to, but I'm not one to judge.
I call this one right here the Master Blaster.
We'll talk about this more when we talk about defeating all the bosses. Part 3. How to move around this massive fucking rock. Somehow, Nintendo found a way to make this massive rock even bigger with the inclusion of the added sky sections, caves, the living embodiment of hell. Also, can we talk about how they hid this entire portion of the game from us without us even knowing? Also, if it wasn't for the Temple of Time here, the Room of Awakening here, and this body of water right here, I mean, come on, I'm not the only one who sees this here, right? There is a lot of ground to cover here, and being able to cover that quickly is imperative to 100%ing this game. But it's less important to get to those places quickly, and more so to be thorough with the grounds we've already covered. First recommendation, get the Korok mask first. You've got 1,000 Koroks in this game. Why would you want to run around Hyrule, do every Hylian damn thing in this game, then realize, oh damn, that is a really long way to go. Do it while you travel. Even if you don't like doing it now, just throw down a marker and come back to it later. Same thing with boss monsters and Shorter Hammer. You've got over 300 stamps you can put on your map at one time. Don't be afraid to use them. The Korok mask can be found in the Forest Coliseum underneath Lost Woods. It acts just like it did in the Masters DLC pack in the first game. Whenever you're near a Korok seed, it's gonna shake to let you know that one is nearby. I just keep it on at all times. Usually takes me about 2 or 3 minutes to go off the beaten path and grab a Korok. If I don't feel like doing it, I'll improvise. After this, I would recommend getting some of the Sage's abilities. I think everyone's first recommendation would probably be Tulin in Rito Village. I absolutely adore this kid. While he was just a child I completely forgot existed in Breath of the Wild, he's since grown up, coming of age into this optimistic young preteen, adolescent. I'm honestly not sure, but he's such a little bro to Link. He's got this unwavering confidence where he wants to be just like the savior of Hyrule, and I don't know where this hidden charisma comes from, but it's such a nice contrast from stick-up-the-ass Falco from the last game. His champion's ability is Tulin Tornado, allowing him to create a horizontal gust to carry Link across long gaps. Now, while I do very much miss Revali's Gale, plus, Tulin's cooldown is far shorter in this game. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend. The 5th dentist is Revali. So many times I need to squeeze through a narrow path or get one final stretch to get somewhere elevated. Definitely the most useful of the 4 sages in this game. Now, will Tulin shoot the enemies while you try to sneak past them? I still love him. As far as the other 3, I would recommend either Riju or Yunobo next. Riju has the ability to create a lightning strike wherever your arrow hits, and Yunobo allows you to send him ski-balling across the land to knock out your enemies. Both super helpful in being able to take out these boulders located across Hyrule. While bomb flowers are back in this game, you'll find yourself running out way too quickly, so 90% of the time I'm not using a rock hammer or a bomb flower. I'm saving those for when I actually need them. Last up up is Sidon, who's engaged now. Oh my god, I'm so happy for them. I've always wanted to be a best man, and his wife is so cute. His Sage's ability sucks. The Water Splash adds a little bit of a damage boost. If you have a Zora weapon, that doubles in power whenever you use it, but there's not any other practical use that I've found for him during travel. I love him, but I love him more in the key item slot in my inventory. Wait, what the hell is that? Mineru, the 5th and final sage you find in this game. She's an older sage that fought alongside the sages of old and lay dormant in the depths for millennia. If you told me in 2008 that a Zelda game would have playable Gundams in it, then I'd just be confused. I didn't know what a Gundam was back then. I immediately slotted her. I think she's cool and adds a neat secret story element to the game, but having her out just clutters up the playing screen. That's one of the few complaints I have against this game. The sages fighting alongside you is a really neat concept. It works contextually with the story and can help out in a pinch, but it can also really use up the real estate we have here, and it's just too much. More often than not, I find myself accidentally using these character specials. Oh, my screen is yellow again, and I have no enemies around. Thanks, Riju. We're not using ZL down for anything. Why not make that a designated UI option for having the sage's abilities toggleable? I guess since it's also used for whistling and recalling your sages, it could disrupt some flow in battles, which, oh yeah, if you whistle to your sages in the middle of the battle, they'll return to you if they're running too far off. It only took me over 100 hours to learn this. After you get all the champions, I would then recommend gathering as many light roots and shrines as you possibly can. More fast travel locations will make navigation easy. Why am I explaining this? This is common sense. Part 4.
Cut. Can you make it just a little, I don't know, more intimidating?
You know who you're talking to, right?
The best kept secret from the marketing of Tears of the Kingdom. Hi, here's this giant hole in the ground you can jump down. Surprise, you're in hell.
Grandma?
Let's be honest here. When I first jumped into the depths, I was genuinely nervous. The floor will literally kill you. It's never-ending darkness. No thanks, I'd rather be assaulted by a larger woman. Now I have full hearts and just run around doing whatever the hell I want. I don't care. The depths are nearly a one-to-one reflection of Hyrule. Take the general landscape, flip the elevation, boom, you've got Doom 2016. But, well, let me just list out all of the comparisons I've found to the depths. If you have a shrine on the surface, you have a light route down below. If you have a city up top, you'll end up finding a mine in the depths. If you have a spring on top, you'll find a bargainer statue in the underground. This one's kind of an outlier. If you have a light route in the depths and spell its name backwards, that'll be the name of a shrine up at the top. You're welcome, those Googling these locations. Where there are stables on the surface, most times you'll find a Lionel nearby down below. Here we have the Shrine of Resurrection on the surface. Here we have the Secret Spring of Revival. If you see magma falling from above in the depths, you can find a corresponding hot spring on the surface. If you see these blackened soldiers looming around in the depths, I honestly didn't find any correlation on the surface. Maybe where they died a long time ago? Depths are a perfect playground for anyone who enjoys long walks on the beach, horseback riding, mounting the back of giant frogs.
I mean, whatever gets your hops off, right?
Biggest regret here, not stocking up on Bright Bloom seeds. It comes in handy.
Trust me.
Anytime you're on the surface, you can find them in any cave or well you stumble across. If you can't locate any of them, get the camera and the Sensor Plus by completing Robbie's mission in the depths, and then meet him back up on the surface so you can grab the Sensor Plus from the Hatena Research Lab. Part 4.1, please get the damn camera. Usually what I'll try to do is I'll isolate myself up to a higher area and then fire some Bright Bloom seeds to surround it. Don't forget you have a send. Most people realize shortly after release that if you take this air bike I've been gassing up for the last 20 minutes and throw a giant Bright Bloom seed on top of it, then you've got your own makeshift headlight you can cruise through the depths with and locate all the light routes. Pay close attention to where shrines are on the surface. If you see the shrine is down in a valley or near the bottom of a chasm, make sure that you have some rocket shields so it doesn't become a pain to try to climb up these rock walls to try for one tiny light route to finish off an area. So with 120 light routes collected, the whole bottom of the map illuminated, I was gifted with the Dispelling Darkness medal. I'd honestly rather be gifted a hemorrhoid. Part 5. The shrine sprite. Once you know where all the light routes are in the depths, navigating the surface should be a breeze.
And best of all,
No more tests of strength!
yeah, check it out. They love it.
For every light route, there's a shrine. Add on top of that the 32 you can find in the sky, and there's 152 total shrines you can find in Tears of the Kingdom. Other than Imagine the shrine in Breath of the Wild where it's just easier to flip the whole controller over so you don't have to fumble through this maze. Yeah, all of these shrines are better than that one. You've got a fully functional batting cage, a race to the finish that could only be made better if it had falling platforms and a turret on the back. You've got a working Jenga puzzle. Like, how did the developers create a physics engine that good inside of a video game? I can't even set one of these up in real life.
Yeah, the local Kmart didn't have any boxes of Jenga, so I just took from a few copies of Wii Fit I had lying around.
It is clear to see just how much time and effort the developers had to make these shrines as creative as inhumanly possible. Not once did I feel like a shrine was something that was filler or just put in there because they needed something to give the player to do. It makes me wonder that with the abundance of the tests of shrinks in Breath of the Wild, did they have original ideas for shrines but just had to scrap them to meet the deadline for the Switch's release? I feel like they replaced these with Proving Grounds, shrines dedicated to stripping you of everything and tasking the player with defeating all the enemies with just the tools at hand. It's just Eventide Island, which, to be fair, anything that resembles Eventide Island, even the slightest, is gonna get a thumbs up from me. But of course, not everything is perfect. Sometimes I'll be traveling and see a green crystal lying around somewhere and think, I don't want to do that. But thankfully, most of the shrines that require a journey just easily hand you the reward. This Rito woman tells you there's this bird that she sees from the top of the mountain and she only sees it at sunrise. So I spent hours restarting my game, going from daytime to nighttime, looking for this stupid ass bird, trying to figure out where the shrine was located. Turns out the entire time it wasn't an actual bird, but just a cutout of a bird etched into the mountain from the falling snow. The satisfaction of completion is the most thrilling part and the best reward, but it does bring up my biggest complaints of the game. And that complaint is, where the hell is my boy Cass? Like, you can't just drop an accordion playing bird, give him one of the catchiest tunes in the game, create an entire quest line dedicated to a traveling band who plays music to the great fairies, and then just get rid of my goddamn best friend from the game. Where's the fuck? When you complete all the shrines, the final Raru's Blessing tells you to go to an unnamed location where they have a present waiting for you. It's an armor piece that makes Link look like a Zonai warrior. Cherish the moment. A picture's worth 100 rupees. Part 6. A picture's worth 100 rupees.
Welcome, eager vacationers, and allow us to introduce you to the goddess's ass crack known as the Land of Hyrule. Here at your stay, we'll supply you with a camera so you can capture memories of all your wonderful adventures in Hyrule. Whether it's small town delicacies, local wildlife, a dragon we're not sure if we can legally call a Hydra, another Hydra, a third Hydra, so many goddamn Hydras and Bokoblins that you'll end up taking 19 pictures of the same fucking enemy before ending it all. We've got you covered.
509 pictures in total that you have to take during the course of the game, which sounds like a lot, but it's not really that bad when you think about it. You just stop and take a picture of every new object that you see. With 30 minutes, you're gonna have 50 new pictures in your inventory. Oh, look, there's a dragon a mile away in the sky. I haven't even finished this sentence yet, and I've already done it. Keep in mind, if you have any interest in completing the Hyrule Compendium late in the game, just drop all of your inventory and take pictures of it. Even for weapons and shields, if you've fused objects to them, the base object is truly the only one you need to take a picture of.
Even if you don't have any interest in completing the Hyrule Compendium, the Sensor Plus is easily one of the most useful tools in the game. Earlier I talked about
please get the damn cam,
and it is so useful when it comes to these side quests. Bright bloom seeds, wells, bosses, bombflowers, sundelions, animals, truffles, tomatoes, arrows, treasure chests, likes, ores, keys, bubble frogs, lionels. Get this shit out of my face, I'm claustrophobic. But rather than tell you why these items are so important, why don't I just show you?
Bright bloom seeds. I already covered this a bit, but they are crucial to navigating the darkness of... Wells are self-explanatory. There's a woman who has a quest line for us that we'll need to do to 100% the game. Same thing with bosses. We've got over 250 that we need to defeat, and plenty of monster parts that we'll need with it. However, if I could give one piece of advice, Nintendo, please change the sensor to look for all types of one monster. I know there's a Stone Talus, Luminous Talus, Rare Talus, Battle Talus, Igno Talus, Frost Talus. I know you want me to look for all of these creatures and defeat them, but you're overcomplicating the process of how to track them down. Bomb flowers. Make sure you take precautions when picking them up. Sundelions are used to get rid of gloom hearts when you're traveling down to the depths. We'll go more into recipes here in a bit, but same with animals, tomatoes, and truffles. Animals pisses off Peto, which gets plenty of people's rocks off. Tomatoes add a large amount of hearts whenever you throw them into a dish, and Jesus, 15 hearts for some damn skewers. And truffles completely restores all of Link's hearts, whether you have 3 or 38. Arrows always useful. However, I wish that it would scan for the containers that the arrows are in instead of just arrows scattered across the fields of Hyrule. Treasure chests, because who doesn't like finding something secret?
I mean, come on, you knew I had to.
Likes. Every single one that you defeat drops an aforementioned, Hylia, damn it, not again, ores, whether that be Luminous, Zonite, or Treasure. Luminous ores, I've got a trick I'll show later. Zonite ores will be the key to maximizing your battery, and Treasure ores help us feed into this capitalistic wasteland. Keys are the most powerful broken item ever introduced in the Zelda universe. Since the fishing pole. Pop it on the end of an arrow, shoot with the accuracy of a blind moron using motion controls, and... See what I mean? Pop quiz! Who would win in a fight? 3 Lionels, a Flux Construct, 2 Hinox, a King Gleeok, another King Gleeok, a billion Lions. It's the Keys arrows. I mean, come on. Did we really expect anything else? Bubble Frogs, which I don't really use the sensor for because I feel like I'm naturally coming across them in caves. You'll need 45 total to get the final piece of armor, which is the only one that I have left at this time while writing this, but we'll get back to that. By the time I was ready to complete the compendium, I had about 100 or so left. 5 or 10 in each category, and 50 pieces of equipment left. Yeah, almost every weapon in the game has a non-rusted variant in the depths that can be held by these shadow soldiers. So not only do you need to take a picture of the normal weapon, you have to take a picture of the other weapon that randomly spawns in the depths that you've never seen before. Now, was I going to naturally go through the game and hope that I can find all of these weapons without a guide? So what I did is I made a full list of every single thing that I needed in this game. Every piece of equipment, every monster. Took about 15 minutes out of my day to get all of this down so I can get prepared to find all of this garbage.
Can't you just buy these from Robbie?
I'm missing 7.
If you haven't beaten the game, then Robbie is going to withhold some pictures from you as not to spoil later story elements in the game. So, spoiler alert for an obvious boss that we know is going to be featured at the end of the game.
How the f does this 120-year-old man take a picture of Ganondorf?
Part 7. All my patience, I mean armor patience, is gone.
This is the one I was least looking forward to. You've got 135 armor pieces in the game, around 30 to 40 full set pieces, and here and there some single one-off items like the Korok masks and the Vine Helm. And honestly, this isn't that hard of a task. Gathering these all was one of the easiest things that I had to do in the game. I'm missing the Mystic Helmet. But for almost every single one of these armor fairies, you have to go to the Great Fairy, find the corresponding materials that the Great Fairy asks for, give it to her so she can upgrade your armor. Again, not really that much of a problem so far. Until you have to do this 4 times to get the maximum upgrade for every single armor piece in this game that requires it. This means you have to complete over 400 armor upgrades, collect over 100 star fragments, defeat so many monsters, bosses, Lionels. Essentially, this is the part of the game where I was kind of regretting updating my game to the 1.2 so I couldn't do the duplication glitch. Normally, you can double the amount of items that you get so long as you have one in the inventory, so this wouldn't be a problem if I wasn't running on version 1.1.2. Now, am I gonna upgrade all my armor pieces at this very second? Are you gonna go ahead and get all the armor pieces now so that you can get ahead and not have to worry about it later? So now that I've gotten that out of the way, part 7.1, locate all 135 armor pieces in the game. Part 7.2, please, for the love of Hylia, please get the camera. This is not me asking nicely, I am demanding you. I do not want you to have to go through the same things that I had to go through. Part 7.3, please do not sell anything. I repeat, do not sell anything, because the second that you do, you are going to need it for something the Great Fairy asks for. Part 7.4, cry.
Do it. Thankfully, most of them are pretty simple to find. They're either tied to a quest or have a map location. Plenty of them, you could just walk in the shops and grab them whenever you feel like.
Hey, do you guys have what I think it's called Yiga armor?
What the f did you just say to me? I know you didn't just use that word against me.
I didn't know that was controversial.
That is our word. You're lucky I don't come across this counter and slap the bananas out.
Over the past few days, I've come to realize that I made a mistake, and I want to acknowledge it openly. I understand that my actions have hurt and disappointed many of you, and for that, I am truly sorry.
In the depths, you'll typically find treasure chests scattered about, typically close by either some sort of old Zonai ruins or after defeating an underground coliseum. However, most of these are going to be found through these sky maps, which are just located, you know, in the sky. They show you the location of the armor in the depths. Man, I sure am glad I got all them lights turned on down yonder. But the other ones come from Misko's treasure, this long-deceased bandit who hid away all of his treasures in secret locations for wanderers to find. I just love this callback to old pirate culture. It's little tidbits like this that really sell games for me. Like Like, sure, they could have just had this secret object in this undisclosed location that people have been hunting for millennia, but no, let's just create this fabricated character, flesh out the quest as well. I'm just traveling through caves, minding my own business, and I see these decorated totems leading me to hidden treasure. I'm sorry, it's just my goofy little gamer brain being entertained by the simplest of ideas. It's neat little storytelling that truly doesn't have any negatives. Hello, internet!
Nope. Not doing that one.
Once you've got all 135, I would just stop by the Great Fairy every once in a while and just cash in on everything you've got. Whoa, what the hell are you doing?
No, I've been really positive with this game. I'm about 200 hours in, and I haven't really had any complaints that's not just minor nitpicking. But the one thing that I wish Nintendo would get through their thick fucking skull is, will they please make a user interface that doesn't take a blood moon and a half to navigate? Please, for the love of God, Nintendo, I am begging you.
So user interfaces are the presentation of information, ensuring that when a player jumps into the game, the information presented on screen is laid out in such a way that the player is able to easily navigate and access the game effectively. And on the surface level, Nintendo is great at this. You've got the control pad in the top left-hand corner, the face buttons that hover over Link when an action is able to be used. The controls and menus should be laid out in a way that the player should never have to think about it. But why does Nintendo continue to not put any sort of optimization in their menus? Speaking with the Great Fairies is obnoxious. Anytime you want to upgrade your armor, you have to individually go through each upgrade, then you have to go through each cutscene. When you have over 100 different items that you have to upgrade and are consistently having to sit there for 5, 10, 15 minutes just pressing button prompts, any other game you can simply slide over to the maximum upgrade. Hell, even Nintendo's biggest IP has had this implemented for the past few entries in the series. Here I am for 10 minutes just clicking through, watching these upgrades after upgrades after upgrades. I can only listen to these Great Fairies' oohs and ahs for so long before I start to feel sorry for the voice actors who had to run through these NPCs' dialogue lines like 400 times.
Okay, so you're auditioning for the role of the Great Fairy in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Gotcha. Question though, isn't the Great Fairy a woman?
How dare you make an assumption like that? You know, first there was the incident with the whole Giga clan, and now it's the comments about the Great Fairies.
We're thoughtless and insensitive.
It's also navigating through to find a specific item, changing my armor out. Why can't I get a favorite system so I can just take all of the items and armors that I use on a normal basis and just put them in a sub-menu? I mean, hell, we have a favorites menu for the auto-build ability. I'm sure adding one of these menus won't hurt anything. Don't think this doesn't apply to other Nintendo titles too.
You know, now that I think about it, that makes getting 500 rupees for every 4th armor upgrade seem not so bad.
Part 8. You are gonna need as many rupees as you can get. Rescue missions don't come cheap. You gotta have rupees for the armor. You gotta have them for armor upgrades, for the random odd side quests, for building Link's house, which I'm gonna come back to in exactly 454 words. Everything we do is gonna revolve around the rare stone taluses. I've marked all of their locations on the map here, and I've listed all of their coordinates on screen. Also, Nintendo, can we have it so that these coordinates show up on the main map? You've given me a game with the engineering prowess of Leonardo da Vinci. The least you could do is put the coordinates on the cursor here. So here's my method for farming rupees. I start as soon as I see a blood moon. Blood moons take 7 in-game days before all the enemies reset, which gives us plenty of time to farm all the stone taluses. Rare stone taluses have a much larger chance to drop rubies, sapphires, and diamonds. I'll usually snag 1 diamond every 4 out of 5 I defeat, and rubies and sapphires is typically 1 or 2 each time. Usually in the time it takes me to defeat all the stone taluses, which is usually about an hour, I can gather around 7,500 to 10,000 rupees worth of gems, but don't you wish you could speed up the process by having an animal shit them out?
I'm sorry, am I reading this right?
This is a Don. Say hi, little buddy. A new species of 4-legged beasts found in southern regions. So far, only 5 of these creatures have ever been spotted, so we're gonna feed him these Luminous Stones and watch him shit it out. Throw down a travel medallion. If you don't remember how to do that, please revert back to step, please, for the love of Hylie. And every time you feed it one of the Luminous Stones, the Don will convert it into a random gemstone. Just come back to it every once in a while when you get a chance. It takes about 10 minutes and fully leaving the area for it to convert, but hey, every time you do it, that's another 500 to 1,000 rupees, and it only took about 3 minutes. But here's where one of my favorite techniques come in. If you've been traveling around Hyrule, you probably have a bunch of opal laying around. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna find one of these sections of destructible rocks, jump to a high elevation, enter bullet time, and start shooting away at the rocks with opals attached to your arrows. It's not a difficult trick to pull off, but if you shoot enough arrows and lag the game to such an intense degree, and 4 hours later, I have money for armor, money for upgrades, and I'm a homeowner now, guys. I've never been happier with crippling debt. Part 9. Extreme Home Makeover. Hyrule Edition. This isn't really a tip, I just think the house is really cute. Breath of the Wild gave us our own house in Hateno Village, but after 5 years, 6, 7, wait, how many years is it between these two games? We've been politely kicked out, and now this is Zelda's home. You know, the one with a table set for 2, the secret well in the back where Zelda keeps a diary where she has to hide things from Link. Also, only one bed that Link can sleep in. Keep in mind, Link can only sleep in beds that are in an inn or are his own. The cost of romance is steep, buddy. But now you can build your own home right outside overlooking Tarrytown, like the hero this city deserves. This is just so cool. You can pick and choose what rooms you want to add on, add a stable if you want to, rearrange it however you want. This is the correct way to build your house. If you're doing it any other way, you're wrong. I usually keep a kitchen in here and a bed upstairs. That way, if there's ever a time where I just really don't feel like cooking and eating out in the wild, I always have somewhere where I can just fall back on. We also have to have the normal necessities because, let's face it, if you didn't start by putting this picture up in your living room, then you're probably more creative and stronger than the rest of us. I wish I had your resilience. Also, listen to that light motif. Part 10. Mealtime with Xalem.
This is Good Enough Kitchen. I'm overly constipated, and today we're gonna be making a personal favorite of mine. A slice of American cheese. Let's get started.
For ingredients, you'll need to start off with 1 egg, 1 box of pasta, 7 cans of your favorite flavor of Mountain Dew, 1 2007 Shrek the Third McDonald's promotional glass, a singular debit or credit card, and 1 slice of cheese.
Why does this still happen every fucking time?
And there you have it, 1 slice of cheese that we so fabulously prepared before taping. For 227 more recipes just like these,
227 more?
I honestly don't know where to start with this. Just take a look at a guide online and get to cooking. Tomatoes, Hylian rice, and animal meat will be your main go-to ingredients. Tomatoes can be found all around Kakariko Village. Hylian rice can be found north up the hill outside of Lurelin Village, which took me 2 hours to find because I forgot Link has the ability to cut grass. Oh, don't mind me, it's only been around in nearly every single Zelda game. And animals, I just had a rule where anytime I'd see one out in the wild, I'd stop, take it down, and carry on with my day. I found the Tabantha region in the top left-hand corner to be very helpful though. You can only hold a limited amount of food in your inventory at one time, so I would just stock up on new recipes every time you're running low on health in the overworld. Which leads me to my biggest challenge, Part XI. The Great Sweep. This is the most time-consuming part in the whole journey. We've spent all of this time gathering up all of the necessities that we are going to need to 100% this game, so all that we need to do left is the Great Sweep. I'm sorry, nobody's gonna get that. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Start from one corner of the map. Whichever one you pick doesn't matter, just sweep the entirety of Hyrule. If you've taken down as many monsters, Koroks, Hudson Signs, Wells, Sage Wills as you possibly can, then I'm gonna be honest, you're still gonna have a ton left. 1,000 Korok Seeds, 253 quests, 250 plus bosses defeated, 81 Hudson Signs, 20 Sage Wills, every well, every Schema Stone, every schematic, and maximizing your battery. Whatever you have left, divide and conquer. My recommendation would be to do the sky portion first. There's a handful of Korok Seeds you'll have to take care of, you'll knock out the Sage Wills you'll find along the way, and once you're done with them, there's honestly not much of a need to go back in the sky. The hardest thing that you'll need to do is take care of the Gleeok and the Flux Construct, but I'm gonna cover all of the bosses here in a moment. It was said that you would destroy the Flux Constructs, not join them! I started off my hunt in the Hebra region. To me, it just makes sense. Just read it like a book. To my Japanese audience, manga kankaku de yondene. I would strongly recommend you resort to a guide. People in Breath of the Wild are still finding new things to this day. So unless you want to spend the next 2,261 days scouring across every inch of this land, I would suggest you come prepared. Hudson Signs are going to be the easiest task that's not falling down a well. Why go through the trouble of constructing some crazy dismangled box, save it, just to get to another Hudson post and it doesn't work? Just take one of these hover stones, throw it underneath, boom! Took me a total of 5 seconds. Works every time. You. It took me forever to find, but they can be found underneath the water temple on one of the islands below. Stock up on as many as you can. You're gonna need at least 81, minus the ones that you've already done throughout your journey. Done. How do you still have a job? You had one task to do and you didn't accomplish it a single time. Boss monsters are up next in our attempt to dive deeper and deeper into insanity. You can keep track of all the ones you've defeated by speaking to Greylands underneath Lookout Landing. We've got 6 different types of enemies we've got to defeat. Stone Talus, Hinox, Molduga, Flux Construct, Frox, and Gleeok. Now this doesn't include Lynels and the new Gloom Hands, which, hot take, I think Guardians are the much better enemy, but these things here are downright terrifying the first time you encounter them. They're still very useful though. Lynels give you bows, allowing you to draw 3 additional arrows for the price of 1. Savage Lynel bows from Silver Lynels allow you to draw 5 additional arrows, which also applies to anything that you attach to it. And Gloom Hands makes it easy to farm some of the simplest, strongest weapons in the game. They're all around 40 damage each. You can fuse one to another to make an 80 damage weapon, and as long as you're on the surface once you're out of combat, the Gloom Hearts just naturally come back on their own. Now each of these bosses has a very specific strategy on how you're gonna take these down. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Now Molduga definitely is a bit of the oddball here. What the hell? But just throw out an item, watch it scurry up to it like cheese in a mousetrap, and just unload onto it. There's only 5 in the game. You'll forget they're even there. Hinox and Stalnox are essentially the same thing. Just beat down the one-eyed monster. Taluses, we've been over, but always fuse their hearts together. Super useful, especially since they're boulder breakers as well. Flux Constructs are one of the newer enemies, and I honestly really like them. It's sort of a 3-stage boss fight. First stage is a giant mech. Second phase is a rectangle. Honestly, just use recall. And third phase is a Rubik's Cube, the quickest one I could possibly solve. It's a bit tougher if you want to take it down without Keese arrows, but as long as you just remove the ends of their appendages. Music kind of slaps though. Frogs though are absolutely adorable. Like, look at them. They travel in a little group and they hop along the... They'll vor you up and spit you out. They'll spring you up without a doubt. I don't know why I love these ugly bastards so much. Maybe because they remind me of King Dodongo mixed with Scaldera. The hitbox is honestly angled a little bit too horizontal, so it makes it a pain to try to hit this eye from the ground. But Keese arrows are broken and I'm back on my rant. If you weren't scared of this thing when you first walked into the Coliseum, then you're either a liar, a menace, or you're still stuck in the Sky Islands, which in that case, why are you here? Just shoot at its eyes with Keese arrows and smack it when it falls to the ground. When it gets too low on health, make sure to defeat it quickly, because if not, you're gonna see the Gleeok Slunch come up and spray hellfire all over the sky. It's a little disappointing if I'm gonna be honest about it. I understand that games are a series of numbers, and at the end of the day, somebody's gonna find a way to cheese anything that's inside of a video game. But in a game that's inviting you to be creative, to have you relish in your creativity and have you fight these boss monsters in creative ways, for them all to fall to one single trick, I kind of want it to just have a little bit more skill involved. Lynel still require you to parry and flurry rush, so long as you don't come up with a device far beyond my patience level. So Dollar General Hydra over here, 6 out of 10 couldn't beat Hydreigon in a fight. Now while exploring, I was constantly swapping out between Hyrule and the depths. Whenever I'd run low on items or Zonite parts, I'd rotate out, so I can use the depths for weapons and Zonite farming, while also starting from the same corner and knocking out every other boss monster I could. Since you're not flying all over the map, I'd say it isn't too necessary to waste time in Zonite parts on the air bike. So while you're down here, I would just try to stock up on as much Zonite as you can, because you're gonna need it. Also, don't forget to grab your Yika schematics and schema stones. I didn't go through all these bananas just to have us forget it at the last moment. A 1 with 3 zeros. That's how many Korok seeds we have to find throughout Hyrule. 100 more than the last game, but it's really only 900 because all of these escort Koroks count as 2.
And it honestly took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to realize that you get 2 Korok seeds because you're helping out 2 Koroks at the exact same time.
All of the original ideas are back from Breath of the Wild. The lily circles, moving sparks, pinwheels, the worst ones. I've spent over 5 minutes on some of these at times. I'm not good at Jenga and I'm not good at Rubik's Cubes. What expects you to think I'm good at this?
I know.
Yet somehow everybody had trouble understanding what to do with this floating white flower. Just take a blade and smack it to send the flower flying, he says after spending 2 hours forgetting he can cut grass in a Zelda game. I really like the new Ascend puzzles. I like the idea that a Korok somehow got stuck between a rock and a hard place, so Link has to ascend through the ceiling and catch him like a football. The red arrows are so simple, I'm surprised they weren't in the first game. You just see a red arrow on your journey, follow it to wherever it leads as it intercepts with another path, and you've got to be fucking kidding me. You've got these Koroks that won't appear until you restore these dilapidated shelters, probably built by Daedalus here. They're creative though. Shout out to whoever at Nintendo is watching dubbed episodes of the Property Brothers. Get bent though, whoever at Nintendo decided to make me pop this cork to get a Korok out of a hole. Sometimes there's a large object nearby that can be used to pull this out, but by the time I go over there and pull it out, I've already got it. But then you have these little bastards, which, I'll be honest, I like the concept. I just wish I didn't have to do this Hylia damn escort mission 100 times. More often than not, by the time you can figure out a contraption that can transport these little leafy luggage loads to wherever the other is, it's quicker to just grab them and go. Now, some were very creative. I like the one where you have to build a bridge so you can transfer this Korok up to the top of the tree. There's also the ones where you have to build a boat so you can get them onto this island. But for most of them, I don't remember where I was going with this.
Don't forget the wells.
Check.
Don't forget the wheels.
Check.
Don't forget the Korok sends the monsters on the...
Check. Quests. Just do them.
I mean, you can find the list for every single one of them online. I'm already running late. Just find out how to do it there. Part Z. Clean up. We have successfully knocked out almost every single thing on our list. The last thing left to do is anything we missed along the way. Quest lines, recipes, armor upgrades, compendium picks, towers, which, listen, if you're 300, 400 hours into this game and you still haven't gotten all of the towers,
then you just keep being you. There is no right or wrong way to play.
If you're anything like me, the longest things it took for you to find in this game were star fragments, dragon pieces, and just those two things. Dragons are easy to farm for. The 4 dragon parts you'll need for armor upgrades all respawn after only 10 minutes, so farm them while you watch a movie, farm them while you cook some grub. Let insomnia be your determining factor. Star fragments, though, are a little more tricky. Most of the time, if I'm traveling during the start of the day, I'll just rest at a fire and only traverse the land at night. I'll also warp to the nearest sky island when trying to scour an area, rather than directly to the surface. Usually there's like a 1 in 5 shot that I can get a star fragment following me on the way down, or soon after, be able to spot one in the distance. Once you've got everything you need, go back and navigate through menu hell, recheck through everything one last time, and now it's time to well, how can I forget? Part Z. Cry like a little baby bitch. Like, come on. It's the Zelda series. I can't talk about this game without going into the story somewhat. I was really thrown for a loop at the beginning of the game, seeing Zelda and Link actually together. Such a nice change of pace seeing these two interact with each other in the present before. But look at the excitement on Zelda's face when she discovers the murals on the wall and Link takes the torch from her so she can take pictures. Look, I don't know if you two are sharing the same bed, but that's A+ boyfriend material right there. Thank you for playing Sekiro, Link dies twice. I do enjoy how they kept the formula of using the scattered memories to tell the story. Experience the present day through Link's eyes while reliving the past story through Zelda's eyes. I'm not sure which of these methods of finding the memories I like better. While I like Breath of the Wild's method of using the background to try to determine where in Hyrule these are scattered about, some of these locations are way too obscure. And the idea of Link just randomly stumbling across an area and suddenly remembering something seems on the weaker end of storytelling to me. But the thrill isn't exactly there when you just stumble across a geoglyph, have to play I Spy for 2 minutes before finding where the puddle of water is. But it's still just as exciting to know that a cutscene is coming. And the way they interweave it with the story is so much better than in the previous game. Now, what is that story from Tears of the Kingdom that you might be asking?
Link, would you still love me if I was a worm?
This is the story that Zelda deserves. Zelda has always been a badass in the games that we've seen before, and her story has always revolved around that feeling of discovery. While this fairy boy might be the link between the player and the game, Zelda drives the force between the player and the journey. The tenacity of Zelda is what drives Link towards those unsolved mysteries, those secrets through time. And because of that willpower, we can grasp that motivation like a childhood rival that's just fighting a different battle. And she's always beside you. From the second you wake up from the Room of Awakening and step outside, the title screen flashes. Oh, who's that in the background? That's not just a coincidence. I like Breath of the Wild's story, but it feels more like Hyrule's story and less like Zelda's story. We see her desire, we see her motivation, but we never see the power behind that motivation and the lengths that she's willing to go. Zelda's on her own here. She has to plant the seeds of history and use the extent of her power, resulting in this ultimate sacrifice that just sends me 12 years back in time to playing Skyward Sword for the first time. The length that each of this trifecta will go to complete the task they need to complete is nothing short of admirable and incredible. Whether it be lying in wait for 10,000 years to avenge all that you have lost, whether it's giving up everything, completely losing all sense of self to protect the ones you love, whether it's risking it all, trudging headstrong through all of the trials, all of the hardships, and every challenge you find along the way by gathering 1,000 Korok seeds, 152 shrines, shrines, 120 light roots, 509 compendium picks, 228 recipes, 253 quests, 18 memories, 135 armor upgraded, 250 bosses defeated, 81 Hudson signs, 20 sage wheels, every schema stone, every schematic, even maximizing your battery. After 345 hours of playtime in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, this has become one of my favorite games of all time.
Normally this is where I'd close out my thoughts and give a recap of what I've thought of my whole entire adventure here. But you've seen the journey, you've seen everything that I've gone through. I thought it was just gonna be a fun little challenge that I wasn't able to accomplish a long time ago. But while I've been going through this, I don't feel any different. Do I regret the challenge? No. Do I regret the playtime? Absolutely not. Because the journey is always more fun than the destination. And if you can still find joy in that, then imagine the journeys you can conquer in the future. I 100% Tears of the Kingdom so you don't have to. And now that it's over, I'm gonna go find that asshole who gave me this damn cheese. So I've put this up, I've got everything I need, so except... I forgot the paragliders.